Do you know common cards can be as powerful, if not more powerful, than some epics and maybe even some mythics? Well, what's up, everybody? And today I am going to be talking about the most powerful common card in each orbital, in my opinion. I'm pretty excited to deep dive into this and see what y'all think about the picks that I have made. So that being said, I want to be clear that most powerful can be very subjective. What is good in one deck might not be good in another deck. So the criteria that I kind of tried to make the decision by was things like, is it low cost? Is it versatile? Can it be played? Is it a core card or is it not? What's the best bang for your buck in the sense of formless energy and actions and, everything that makes Wonders a unique game. And I'm just going to go in order, going around the back of the card. It's Umbrathine, then Sulfera, then Helioscent, then Petria, then Tallwind, then Boundless. So I'm just going to start with Umbrathine. Umbrathine, as I'm sure y'all know, is kind of the death strike, graveyard play, kind of orbital. But I did not pick a card that had any of the keywords for Umbrathine, so feel free to come at me. Like, Chained Crow is one of my favorite cards. I just didn't feel like I could pick a 3-cost core card over something as versatile as, you ready for it? Dealmaker Pallidus. This is a 1-cost primary wonder with power 6. You can't play this from your hand to a realm unless an opponent controls a stone there. I have used this card to take realms many, many times. It's primary, so you can have 2 copies of it, which is great. It's 1 cost. That means that if you're running a deck with Umbrathinian lands or the first, you might be able to play it for free, or you're only going to spend 1 formless energy. I have played this card on Rehush. I've played this card in mini games and used it to take many stones in round 2. And it's just like one of the best things that you can pull early game and sometimes even late game to be able to retake a stone that you didn't think you were going to be able to get back. I love this card. I think it's, like I said, super versatile. It's not core. It's low cost. You can run it in any deck. So this is my Umbrathine pick. Let me know if there's something else that y'all would pick. Like I said, I know there's a lot of feelings about Chained Crow. It is one of my favorite cards, but this just feels more versatile. But if there's any other cards that y'all are thinking like, Grace, what are you talking about? This is the choice. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to know. And that's going to go for every orbital. So for Sulfera, I was kind of back and forth between 2. But I did end up picking Soul Jar Mastery. Now, this is one of the more high formless energy cost cards that I will have picked for this list. But it's a really versatile card. A lot of the low cost Sulfuran cards have that like horde mechanic. They're very unique and kind of focus really well into the Sulfera themed decks. Soul Jar Mastery you could run in just about any deck that you wanted. It would be kind of expensive, but for 3 formless energy to be able to destroy target wonder in a realm where you control a stone, that can stop somebody from being able to take a stone from you. If somebody flies in with a flyer, like there's a lot of different things that you could do, particularly comboing it with like the T set to just kind of change things up and figure out what your best move is. So I'm not 100% sure that that it's the best card at the cheapest card, the best bang for your buck in all of Sulfera, but I think in the sense of what is the best in the game as a whole to be versatile in between decks, this is my pick. The other card I was kind of thinking about was Revolutionary Cannon, but it's the same cost, but it's got such a much larger restriction on what cards you can destroy. I've played that several times, and you know, sometimes you can get one use out of it. Sometimes somebody switches something up because they know you're going to destroy their card with your next action. It's just easier to get around that than this. Boom, your card is dead. And they're both 3 cost. So those were kind of my picks for Sulfera. Heliosynth, which is the next Orbital I'm going to talk about, is the one that I really had the most trouble with, trying to figure out what I thought was going to be the most versatile card. Because Heliosynth, all of the commons either have to do with equipment or faith. Faith is very unique to Heliosynth. It combos well, but if you're looking for a card that you could dabble into or play with just 1 or 2 Heliosynth cards to kind of help give you a boost, Faith is not the mechanic that you're likely going to do that with. It's more going to be equipment and items, most likely. And I thought about a couple of different options, but I did ultimately decide on Scorpion's Edge. And hear me out on my logic. I know that some people might completely disagree with this, but hear me out on my logic. This is a 2-cost equipment that has Equipped Wonder, gets +2. At the end of the round, you may return this to your hand, and it's attuned. So, basically, what this card is a cheap way to buff whatever realm you need to with a free action. And you can move it based on where you need it in the game. You don't have to return it to your hand at the end of the round. You may. If you like it where it is, you can leave it where it is. If you're like, I've got this realm in hand, or I've got something that I know I can play to keep that realm in hand, you can return this to your hand at the end of the realm and then play it again for no action. And it's only 2 cost. So that 2 cost keeps it nice and low. Whether you play it early game or late game, it's not going to be hogging but so much of your formless energy. So it's, in my opinion, it's just the most versatile. I know I pronounced that different ways in this video. It's just the most versatile card and the most bang for your buck. I'm just going to keep saying that because I think it makes sense for the kind of way I'm looking at what the best card is from Heliosynth commons. So, you know, I also just love this card, so I'm just a little bit biased. I've used it to win games several times. But, you know, it makes the most sense to me. I'd love to know if anybody else is thinking anything else. So that's Heliosynth. Now we go down to the bottom at 6 o'clock. Patria. A lot of you probably know what I'm going to pick for this, and you're probably right. There's a card that I've talked about many times on this channel. And it's just, in my opinion, the best common green card that you can have. And that is Seer's Gaze. Draw a card for each untapped land you control. It's a secondary spell with cost 2. And it is not core. You can run it in any deck that you want, and you can get a crap ton of draw if you have a lot of untapped lands. And let's be honest, hopefully at some point in the game, if you want to win, you have a bunch of untapped lands. So this lets you dig through your deck for pretty much whatever you need. And of course, it's part of a well-known meta combo that I believe my video about that should be up before this one. So, you know, it's just a good card, and it's got such a good advantage. Having card draw advantage is so important in Wonders. Now, that being said, if I picked Seer's Gaze for this and Tallwind is next, I feel like 99% certain y'all know where I'm going with this. Moonfire Crystal Mouse. I've said it once, I will say it again. I think Moonfire Crystal Mouse is one of the best cards, if not the best card in the game right now. Obviously, it's not a beat down, big stick, win condition, but a secondary wonder that costs 2 to play, and it has a sacrifice free, draw 2 cards, gain 2 energy. It makes such a difference in games. having that 2 extra cards and that 2 extra energy, especially if you can get Moonfire Crystal Mouse out early game and sack him in the last round, it just, like, it makes such a difference in if you have 3 Moonfire Crystal Mice and you save them until the last round and you draw 6 cards and gain 6 energy in the last round for essentially free because it's a sacrifice free, it makes a complete difference. So, you know, a common card that is just so powerful. If there's another Tallwind card that y'all think is better than Moonfire Crystal Mouse, common Tallwind card that y'all think is better than Moonfire Crystal Mouse, let me know. But you're gonna have to provide me with a strong thesis statement and defense. It's just such a good card. So the final Orbital is Boundless. I thought about this one for a little while, and you know, I did just have to end up with Pinkspore Dreamcap. He's just such a good card. I recognize that he's a plant and therefore does not have a he or a she, but he's adorable, and I'm gonna call him a he because that's what I feel like doing. For those of you who don't know, this is a 1-cost secondary wonder with 2 power. And his text says, on defense, this gets +1 this round for each plant you control. And this says you can have any number of Pinkspore Dreamcaps in your deck. Low cost, non-core, massive ability. Obviously, he's a little bit more monetarily expensive to get your hands on because people want a lot of him. But he's such a good card. Obviously, on defense is a little more difficult to figure out how to win the game with, but as a support piece, as even sometimes the win engine for your deck to do things around that, it's extremely powerful. And also, it's just a card that people love, which does not really make the criteria in whether or not it's the best common card, but it is worth noting. So, you know, it's just what I felt like, you know, low cost, you know, all these things put together, I feel like makes Pinkspore Dreamcap the best card that you can pick for this. So these are kind of my best picks for 6 cards, 6 orbitals. What is the best common card? Like I said, I really focused on versatility, low energy cost, high output, even in low action in some cases, to see kind of what the best thing that could be in any deck would be. Not like Remains of Barnabas, or Chaincrow, both of which I love, but they're kind of in a very niche spot, and they, particularly Remains of Barnabas, make sense in some decks but not others. So, you know, this is my list. I would absolutely love to hear something that I said you think is insane, and there is a card that you think is better than one of these common that I mentioned in the Orbital. Just keeping in mind the kind of the criteria that I'm thinking of, or if you want to say that this card is the best because that is the ground that you stand on, let me know in the comments. I'm super excited to see what everyone thinks. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, and keep being your wonderful selves.